Howdy, folks. It's your old pal, David Cobb. I'm your host for Democracy in Action, the program that comes to you on the Green News Network. And with a hat tip to Gil Scott-Heron, we know that the revolution will not be televised, but it will be brought to you through the various venues of non-corporately filtered news, information, and analysis. The Green News Network aspires to be one of those. Medium is another one. And the Spitfire journalist, rogue journalist, Caitlin Johnstone, is one of the people that is bringing you that. Caitlin Johnstone, welcome back to Democracy in Action.
Oh, g'day, David. How are you going?
You know, I'm doing mighty fine. I got to say, I love we have a sort of a bouquet of fruit in the background. We got a lovely frame. But I want to jump right in. Caitlin, you've already agreed you're going to be on Democracy in Action the fourth Monday of every month, right?
That's right. I'm right here.
We don't have to cram everything in. So that means, folks, that those of you who, like me, can't get quite enough of Caitlin Johnstone, tune in to Democracy in Action on the Green News Network the fourth Monday of every month at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And what we're going to start doing now is, instead of having the broad conversation with her like we did last month, we're going to really try to go pick an article that our rogue journalist has written and really kind of go deep on it. So technical director extraordinaire Michael O'Neill, if you would put up into the comments section that incredible piece that Caitlin did just on June 24th called "The Reasons the Elites Keep Killing Single Payer," as in single-payer healthcare, as in healthcare is a human right. That's what we're going to be talking about. Remember, folks, you can send comments or questions into the comments section. Michael O'Neill will harvest those. But where we're going to go right now, I'm going to give you an opportunity, Caitlin. Give us the thesis of this piece that you wrote on June 24th.
Well, it all stemmed from the fact that the Democratic Assembly Speaker and the Speaker of the House in California, Anthony Rendon, killed single payer. Everyone was very excited. There was a great big push into single payer. It passed through the Senate. There was no reason for it not to pass. They have
I'm going to interrupt you. When you say he killed it, I'm going to push you as a journalist. Wait, what do you mean he killed it?
He killed it stone dead. He said that they're putting it to sleep for a little while and they will have some discussion and debate about it. But we know from experience that means it's dead, because that just means, oh, look, don't think about it, kids. Just go to sleep now. We'll talk about it in the morning. And then by the time, it gets to a year or two from now, our outrage has died off. Or the news churn has moved us on to other things and we're not thinking about it anymore. So basically the energy that was thrusting this thing right into the consciousness of Californians, 65% of Californians want this. It's a no-brainer, especially for a party that is dying in so many different ways. It's had its worst fundraising. It's the horrific meltdown of Ossoff.
In California, the Bernie-inspired challenger for the Democratic Party chair, Kimberly Ellis, literally had the election stolen from her. There's likely to be litigation coming out of it. But I'm going to say, and to actually quote from the Medium article itself, Caitlin, how can you be so certain that Rendon is lying? I'll give you a hint.
I think
it's about money.
It's about the money. And David Sirota did the work on this back in April. He wrote a great piece in IB Times marking who to watch about this. Who were the dark money suspects that we should be watching in terms of who's going to be the one to step into the town square and kill it dead. And he marked Anthony Rendon as one of those people who has received a lot of money from the various industries that do not want to see single payer. So we knew that he was one to watch, and just on cue, he came out and did it. So that's why we know he's lying. He doesn't want this. He's Mr. Nice Guy. He speaks the progressive parlance, just like they all do. Makes it sound like, he's really on board with all of this stuff. But basically, he's just doing the work of the oligarchs that pay him.
Right, and so, that's exactly the shift I wanted That's exactly the shift I wanted to do. But I don't want to let Rendon off the hook. He is an elected official. He killed single payer and healthcare as a human right after he said nice words about it when it looked like it wasn't actually going to go anywhere. And he's literally protecting Democrat Jerry Brown from having to veto the bill or having Democrats have to actually vote for it. So definitely Anthony Rendon, the Democratic leader of the California Assembly, is absolutely responsible, as is the Democratic Party. But it's not merely the toadies in the Democratic Party. It's actually the funders themselves. So let's go into that.
Right. The toadies are the knights of the if it's an oligarchy is just like a monarchy. There are people who rule us and there are people who enforce those rules. And so, the people who enforce those rules on us are basically government officials. Money equals power in the American politics. And we know that 95% of people who outspend their candidates will win in an election. So money will ensure that you get put in. And then we know as well from a Princeton study that it entrenches the system further, and those who have been put into power, which is basically just a legalized form of bribery, will then enforce those sorts of legislation that they want, that the oligarchs want, to the absolute detriment of the voters. Voters virtually have no say at all compared to the people who are actually paying the money. So when money equals power.
I'm glad that you actually brought up the Princeton study, but, of course, this is the one that actually proved through rigorous academic protocols that the rich and powerful control the economy and control our government, which, by the way, they could have saved all that money and just gone to any pool hall or bowling alley in the United States of America and asked anybody who actually runs this joint. But now Princeton is saying it. I also want to actually.
It's like any scientific study; it tells you what you actually already knew anyway. Like, gives you the stats for it.
But it is because I actually read the study, and it has a high level of both academic rigor and the methodology. It's chilling the precision by which they can show you just how little ordinary folks can actually influence elections through the current system.
Right, it is really, yeah. And what they're doing with that power that they have is that they're going out of their way to entrench the system further. So they're using their power over legislation to make sure that money equals more power. So, with Citizens United, that sort of thing, that they can get more money in the system and make sure that they always get their way. So, So when money equals power, and this was the point of the article, and it was kind of a little bit subtle, and I was really pleased that people grokked it, was that when money equals power, someone like Rendon will come out and kill single payer, and you're like, what? Give us a bone. What's the point here? What are you trying to do? Are you just trying to what is the point of that? And people tend to think, these money hoarders, they just don't want to let go of any of their money. But it's not that. It's not because they want to buy more helicopters or buy up more land in Greenland or whatever they do, what oligarchs do with their money. I don't know. They don't need any more money than that. What they want to do is make sure that you don't have any money, because when you don't have any money, you don't have any power. And they got a big wake-up call last year when they realized that only a little bit of money, if people have just $27, they can do quite a bit with their power to collaborate on the internet now. So they are going to be relentless in keeping people starving poor and distracted by the just staying alive at this point. That's really the only way that they can hold on to the power that they have. So,
folks, you're watching Democracy in Action on the Green News Network, your source for non-corporately filtered news, information, and analysis. We're talking to Caitlin Johnstone, rogue journalist out of Australia. You can follow her work on Medium and other sources. We are already getting some comments and questions coming in, so I will make it a point to tease some of those out with a thank you to Michael O'Neill, who's sort of watching them. Efren says, or ask, if the oligarchs have control over the political government system, how can the working people take back control?
Well, now we have this beautiful thing called the internet, which completely subverts the propaganda machine. Like, all of this is held in place by the mass media. And we talked about this last time. The thin thread of narrative that the mass media creates to keep everyone in the dark and just motoring along and doing exactly what, and not being naughty, being very obedient, is starting to break down. We're seeing it. The dinosaur media, it's dying, the legacy media. And we're able now to collaborate, just like we are right now, and talk about truthful things and actually share ideas and say, you know what, because there's single payer has been killed basically by Fox News for many, many years in America, hasn't it? Like, that's basically the conservative media. And CNN, of course, is all the backup, but the media has done a very good job of making it sound impossible, improbable. I know that the stories that come back to, as an Australian, the stories that come to me, what Americans think about what is happening in Australia is really weird. Like, that we have lines up around the block around emergency services, and that we have this terrible health care system, and that we have to go to the United States to get a decent surgery or whatever. There's some really strange ideas permeating the American consciousness about what single payer is, and keeping this terrible system in place.
Right.
And that's the only way it can be kept in place, because it's awful.
Caitlin, sometimes I think, oh no, we'll never be able to win. They've got billions of dollars a year that they throw at propping this up and shoving it down our throats. And then other days I say, there's no way we can fail. It takes them billions of dollars to prop up their lie. So, Efren, what we have to do is tell the truth. We have to disrupt their narrative. We have to decolonize our own minds. We have to tell the truth about white supremacy and capitalism and patriarchy and neoliberalism. We have to be willing to disrupt them at the ballot box by voting for Greens and socialists, and refuse to go along with the Democratic and Republican neoliberal agenda. And we have to build institutions. So the next thing that we've got to do, you each have to share this live stream. You've got to post it on your own email, your own Facebook page. Let's get tens of thousands of people watching and participating in this conversation. I now want to go to Frederick, who says the corporate party, also called the DNC, would rather lose to a Republican than allow a true progressive to win anything. What's your reaction?
Oh, absolutely. That they have proven that over and over and over and over and over again. And that is because money equals power, and they cannot let a progressive get in, because the moment single payer comes into California, that'll release, a couple of $1,000s for every family back into their budget. And that's a lot of $27 for a start. That also releases money back into the economy. It's an economic stimulus package. People start spending money at local businesses and at cafes and things like that. Things start to brighten up, and they're like, hey, this is pretty good. I'm getting good healthcare, and also I seem to have a little bit of more money, and they're hiring jobs that are the only way that they can keep doing this is to depress the economy so badly that people just don't have $27 to throw to a candidate.
I appreciate Frederick, and I'm going to say it this way. The leadership of the Democratic Party will kill that party before they let somebody like you or me actually have access to the levers of control. Not just would they rather lose to a Republican. That's true, and there's a long history of that. I'm saying even deeper, those bastards will kill that political party before they let it go. So for folks who are on the experiment of trying to, quote, take over the Democratic Party, good luck to you. I don't think it's actually going to be possible. But even if you do, they're not going to actually let candidates run on that party label. They're not going to fund candidates that are actually genuine progressives. Like, so to me, I'm a Green Party activist, not out of idealism, although I am very idealistic about the 4 pillars of the International Green Party movement. My Green Party membership and participation is cold, calculated analysis of how power operates and the history of what it takes to actually build a movement. So I do want to go to Carl, who takes us back to your great piece in Medium. Carl says, when 59% of the country wants single-payer health care, which is basically health care as a human right, but the supposed, quote, party of the people, meaning the Democratic Party, fights against that and refuses to even propose just a weak public option, you know that there's no representative government in the U.S. when corporate profit is at stake. What do you say to Carl?
Yeah. It couldn't be more clear, could it? Like, that is the will of the people. People want this, and they really want this, and they're just not going to let it go. And that's weird. That is weird. That's really weird. Like, and we should all be going, whoa, that's really weird. Stop doing that. That's
right.
Weird.
I mean, it's weird if you still are holding on to the creation myth of this country as a democratic republic. If you're still holding on to your naivete that we were taught as children about the United States of America as that great shining light on the hill that will be standing for the people and that we, the people, actually control this government. See, it's really weird that things like single-payer healthcare is a human right that has a supermajority is not public policy. It's really weird that we're not moving to sustainable alternative energy sources. It's really weird that we're not raising the minimum wage to a living wage. It's really weird that all of these things that actually have supermajority support don't get implemented as public policy. It's not weird at all if you actually understand how the system actually works.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what I like, the idea of an oligarchy really needs to permeate into the American public consciousness. It's not just that, you know, you can kind of like, if you'll make it in there, you'll make it anywhere sort of thing. You can rise through the ranks and maybe one day aspire to be your own oligarch, you know. That's not what's happening. There's a freaking monarchy happening. It's a ruling class and they are deeply entrenched. They have more money than you will ever understand. Like, we just cannot comprehend how much money and power these people have, and they will exert it like with authority.
They're mentally ill. They're mentally ill. Let's just be clear, right? I mean, the people who are in charge, they are in fact oligarchs, and they're actually mentally ill. They need, actually, if we had single payer healthcare, we could get them the psychological help that they so obviously need. So Elif, and my apologies if I'm butchering your name, but Elif says, when you're fighting for food, housing, jobs, healthcare, net neutrality, etc., you have less time to fight the oligarchy. You end up fighting issues instead of fighting for power. What do you think about that?
Right. Well, that's right. I think that's absolutely true. But the thing is, money equals power. So you are basically trying to fight for power because you're trying to fight for money to survive and to live. So
here's
and that's where we are.
Oh, go ahead. Finish.
Well, that's where we can subvert that paradigm. And I hope that what happened with Ossoff is like the start of a trend in subverting that paradigm. It seems to me that there's an ew factor around money now happening through the American consciousness that wasn't there before. I think, you know, super PACs and things like that used to be the sort of thing that you would crow about, like say, I've got this enormous super PAC, there's so much money coming to me and stuff. That's not happening anymore. You kind of like, everyone's a little bit, they're a bit embarrassed about their super PACs. And the effect of money and the people that it pushes up is starting to become a little bit ew as well. Like, you know, money doesn't push up real humans.
You know, it reminds me of what my dad, because I'm from rural Texas, right? And it reminds me of what my daddy said about money one time. He said, son, money is a lot like manure. If you pile it up in one place, it smells like the shit that it really is. But if you spread it around the farm, you can do a lot of good with it, right? So to me, like, I want to actually have a conversation about money as power and about the need to actually have power with each other instead of power over each other, and actually recognize, you know what, we all have a right to enough food to eat, a decent place to live, access to healthcare, good education. And that's actually what I think is up to. And that brings me to Marco's question, and it's a good one, I think. How do we educate the public that their government is actually an evil empire? How do we help people understand we're not the Ewoks, we're actually the stormtroopers?
Well, I think you just keep saying the truth. You just keep talking about, like, the sorts of things we're doing in Syria and Yemen, and the sorts of things that we're doing to actual people in the country. Homelessness is a terrible psychopathic response to someone not having money. Like, the fact that you would just let someone die of exposure on the streets because they didn't win the money game, they didn't get enough little green triangles to survive, is like, that's a disgusting idea. So just on that level, talking about, like, the weird psychopathic nature of money and how it can kill people. It basically, it's a very, its whole response to a problem is to kill people. Like, right. You don't have enough money, you die. So yeah, I think just talking about those sorts of ideas and just with each other and online and, on Twitter, and just getting those sorts of conversations going. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I got to say, because several people, I'll just pull Kennedy out, because a lot of people are saying the same thing, and that is the power of the internet is exactly why they are trying to destroy net neutrality. Multiple people are writing in about how important it is that we fight for this medium that we're actually using right now, because this is something new, and we're able to organize horizontally and talk to each other without being vetted by the corporate media bosses.
Right. It's so vital. Net neutrality is so important. It really is important. But they're going to lean on that as much as they can, but they can't lean on it so much that it will look like that they are actually, enforcing Burmese style censorship. That's the thing. They rely on looking also.
They're more subtle.
Yeah, they have to be. It's the nice guy thing, It's just like Anthony Rendon. He's a nice-looking guy with a nice-looking smile, and he says all the nice things and stuff, and he would never want to kill you by not allowing you to have health insurance or, like, to access to single payer. He's not a murderer, but really, that's the effect of these policies. They actually do kill people.
It kind of is.
It kind of is. So, yeah.
A lot of similar questions are coming in, and I'm going to invite you, Michael O'Neill. I'll ask Caitlin, but then ask you, because I value Michael O'Neill, our technical director's opinion on this. John writes in to ask, hey, look, Democrats are losing big time among young people and non-whites, especially in urban areas, and many Gen Xers like me. How can we get these voters to start voting green? How can we do that? He says, I think a lot of people feel defeated and are just not knowledgeable about the green option. So I'll ask you, Caitlin, then I'll go to you, Michael O'Neill, to see if you've got any thoughts. Caitlin.
Well, I think what we're doing right now is a big part of the way, educating people that the Greens are a thing and that they're actually willing to go out and fight for not just single payer, but really good single payer, really good single payer that, with all the things that everyone wants, and get those sort of conversations going. I think this is important. Of course, there's the mainstream media coming in and sliming everything the Greens do with, some sort of weird little spin that makes people suspicious and paranoid of them. And there's the system itself that doesn't seem to actually reflect how many Greens voters there are in the population. I don't know. That's maybe a little bit conspiracy theory, but I'm pretty sure that there was maybe a little bit more than 1% of people voting for the Greens. That was a bit odd. But anyway, we can't prove that. We don't know. But so the system is changing.
We can be suspicious. So, Michael, you want to be a disembodied voice from on high to answer the question? I know I put you on the spot a little bit. Michael O'Neill, what do you think we ought to be doing?
Well, I think what we're doing right now is the Greens are a thing. And, the Greens are a thing.
But Michael O'Neill is working too hard as the technical director, keeping it going. So I'll answer it myself. Yes, to what Caitlin has said, we got to keep doing what we're doing, which is to have honest conversation. But here's the other thing, and this is to my sisters and brothers in the Green Party. We've got to talk to ordinary people like ordinary people. We've got to show up in pool halls and bowling alleys and vets halls and grocery stores and be seen being green. Wear your Green Party sticker and button and hat and T-shirt everywhere. Talk about how the Green Party is committed to healthcare as a human right, who is committed to raising the minimum wage to a true living wage. Talk about the fact that we are the only peace party that is absolutely committed to dismantling the entire U.S. empire and actually will save your life. I'll tell you, there was a Green Party candidate who had the best slogan ever, Caitlin, and it was, vote for me if you want to live. And then everything else was how the Green Party platform was the only rational way to actually go forward. And Michael O'Neill does type in to say, we need to train our existing Greens into a veritable army of organizers who can contribute toward victories like single payer and living wage, and win, start at the local level, build up. So thanks for that, Michael. I'm going to now come in. We're getting a lot coming in, so I'll do as quick as I can. Peace asks, hey, I've heard that Planned Parenthood has literally taken a stand against pursuing single payer as well. Can you discuss that? I can, but I don't know if you can, Caitlin.
Oh, I'm not sure I know enough about that to discuss it, but that's a really...
because it's a peculiar thing. So Planned Parenthood once was a vocal advocate of single payer. That actually stopped, Peace, when Bill Clinton assigned Hillary Clinton to pursue healthcare reform. And the deal that she struck, which was really a version of Obamacare to propose to make health insurance without making healthcare a human right and following a single payer model, they pursued, well, let's figure out how to just give health insurance and not disrupt the actual current system. And that deal, part of it was for Planned Parenthood to revoke their position on single payer. And they have now consistently fallen on their sword so much to the point that they will continue to mouth it. And I want to be clear, I'm a huge supporter of the work that Planned Parenthood does for ensuring that women have access to safe and affordable abortion rights and safe and affordable choices. I mean, it's a question of bodily integrity. I absolutely support the basic thrust of Planned Parenthood, but their position on single payer is another example of the corrupting influence of the Democratic Party oligarchic leadership, who put their tentacles out and literally either take over or create a nonprofit industrial complex that allows them to do what is acceptable, but no more. So this is a great story, the Planned Parenthood story. I thank you, Peace, for asking it. Let me do just one more really quick. Heidi asks, and this is something I hear a lot, sometimes people are frustrating Heidi, other times people are frustrated like Heidi. And here it comes, Caitlin. How do we talk to people who think Bernie is going to save us all? I'm so frustrated. Caitlin, what are your thoughts?
Well, here's my thing, is that I actually think that when if you're going to go in and reform the Democratic Party, you need to believe that you can do that. That's the only way that you're going to do it. I mean, not that even that you're going to do it, but that you're going to throw up all this bullshit as you push in and say, hang on, why can't you do that? Why can't you do single pay? Why isn't this happening? Why didn't we get our chair? What's going on here? What is that? You know, that's the only way you can do it, is if you fully have the belief that you can actually fix this thing and make it into something real. So I don't push against, Dem enters. I think that, in fact, anyone who's a real fighter, I think, should go in there and start pushing around the furniture and saying, what the hell is this? This is bullshit.
Right. So I'll tell you this. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. So look, like you, I don't actually fuss and argue with Dem Enter people. What I tell them is go in there, do your best, and when you become a Green, and you will, I will welcome you into Green Enter, and I won't say I told you so or anything else, because I had 25, 30 years of trying that approach and seeing exactly how that actually works. And it is a terrible thing. The other thing, Heidi, is, and I say this very clearly, Bernie Sanders was right on almost everything. His foreign policy is terrible. Let's just acknowledge that up front. But his income inequality analysis, spot on. All of his domestic policies, spot on. But you know what? Everybody gets to be wrong sometimes, including Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is wrong on U.S. empire, and he's wrong to think that he can go into the Democratic Party and actually transform it. But that's okay. I fully believe that we are building from the bottom up a new phenomenon. And I'm going to say it this way. This new phenomenon is ultimately going to be a red-green alignment. It is going to be an alliance that takes the deep ecology of the Green Party, the vision of the old and new socialist movements. It's going to bring them together. I believe, Michael O'Neill believes, that it's almost surely going to be the Green Party as the electoral arm of these movements. But at the end of the day, we need to build mass movements that are broad, conscious, politically educated, and militant, willing to disrupt the narrative and at the ballot box and in the streets, protests, demonstrations, etc. So, folks, this 30 minutes has just flown by. Caitlin, there was so much more that I wanted to talk about. I'm going to give you a last word and invite you to plug where can we tune into more of your writing as a rogue journalist.
Well, I think know that there is power in our numbers as well. That's what I'd like to add about the Dem Enter and the Dem Exit debate. We need both. We need to destroy the Democratic establishment from the inside and from the outside. So we need armies in both camps and everywhere else. You can find me on Medium. It's Katie Johnstone with a Y on Medium, and on Facebook. I've got my own Patreon, and I'm on Twitter. And yeah, let's do this thing. I'm feeling really good. I think we're reaching a tipping point right now, and I think a lot of people are feeling this, where money is having diminishing returns on influence. And so my point of that article was the oligarchs, are trying to hold on to as much money as possible to keep as much power as possible. But what we might be seeing, and this is my little hope, is that money in it and of itself is becoming less powerful because it can only buy fake bullshit. And we're starting to become allergic to fake bullshit. And I think, like the evolution of human consciousness to that allergy is a fantastic thing to see.
Fantastic. Caitlin Johnstone, the rogue journalist, thank you so much for being the guest on Democracy in Action on the Green News Network. I want to thank executive producer Melissa Figueroa, thank technical director Michael O'Neill, and encourage you all, share this conversation on your Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, the various platforms. Let's get the message out. And I want you to tune in next week, same bat time, same bat channel, with a hat tip to Adam West. And to remind you that we're going to continue to bring you this program. And next week, Jabari Brisport, a up-and-coming Green Party activist running in New York City. I think he comes out of Brooklyn. I'm not sure which exactly borough he's from, but I know he's in New York City. A really rising star in the Green Party as a candidate. So join us then. In the meantime, thanks for what you're doing. Keep fighting. Peace.